The power of the weak. Why they drain your life force. Why weak people suck your strength like invisible vampires. There's a type of person you know too well. The one who always has a fresh problem. An endless crisis. Drama that never resolves. Ever notice how after 10 minutes talking to them, you feel completely drained? Like something invisible got ripped out from inside you? It's not coincidence. It's not your imagination. It's real. And it has a name: energy vampirism. The weak aren't just people without strength. They're emotional black holes, vitality vacuums. They don't want your solutions. They want your energy. And you, generous and empathetic, hand it over on a silver platter, thinking you're helping. But here's what nobody told you. There are people who chose weakness as a lifestyle, and they need you weak too, so they feel less pathetic. History is packed with examples. Take the case of Grigory Rasputin, the Russian mystic monk. He didn't conquer power through physical strength or superior intellect. He dominated the Romanov court by manipulating others' weakness. Serena Alexandra was desperate about her hemophiliac son's health. Rasputin didn't cure the boy, but created such deep emotional dependency that the imperial family became his hostage. He sucked imperial power while pretending to be the solution. The weak do exactly this. They become parasites disguised as needy victims. Robert Greene, in his Power Law 10, warns us, infection, avoid the unhappy and unlucky. Sounds cruel? Then you still don't understand the game. Greene isn't talking about zero compassion. He's talking about strategic survival. The unhappy contaminate. They carry an invisible cloud of failure and spread it like disease. You sit next to them, and suddenly, your own projects start crumbling. Your motivations weaken. Your dreams seem ridiculous. Coincidence? No. Emotional contagion. The Stoics knew this 2,000 years ago. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Be like the rock which the waves constantly crash against, yet it stands firm." But how do you become rock when you're surrounded by people wanting to turn you into sand? The answer lies in recognizing the pattern. The weak operate through repetition. Same problems, different days. They always come back, with that same vampiric energy, draining a bit more of you with each encounter. And here's the dark secret nobody wants to admit. You like being drained, because being needed gives purpose. Being the savior feeds your ego. But while you feel like the hero, you're being slowly emptied. Your life force, that spark that moves mountains, is being transferred to someone who'll never do anything with it. It's like pouring water into a broken basket and thinking you're filling a well. Practical action. Identify right now 3 people who always show up with problems, but never apply your solutions. Write down the names. These are your vampires. Cut contact by half over the next 2 weeks. Watch how your energy increases. It's not magic. It's emotional mathematics. Less drain, more fuel for your own goals. The truth is brutal. There's a silent conspiracy in society to keep you mediocre. And the weak are the foot soldiers of this conspiracy. They don't know they are, but they are. Because keeping you weak makes them feel less pathetic. If you rise up, they're left alone in their misery. And nobody wants to be alone in hell. If you've ever felt this inexplicable exhaustion, if you've noticed certain people leave you depleted just by being near, leave your mark here. Type the word rock in the comments. And if this video is making sense, if you're recognizing the patterns, hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel, because we're diving even deeper into this uncomfortable truth everyone avoids talking about: how the weak use guilt and victimhood to imprison you. Have you ever stopped to analyze the manipulation arsenal that the weak master with expertise? They don't need physical strength or sharp intelligence. They have something far more powerful: guilt. And they know how to use this weapon with surgical precision. Every defeated sigh, every abandoned puppy look, every injustice story repeated 1,000 times, all of this is psychological ammunition directed at you. Guilt is the fuel that moves the weakness machine. The weak have learned, consciously or unconsciously, that modern society glorifies the victim. We live in an era where suffering became currency. The more you suffer, the more attention you get. The more you declare yourself oppressed, the more immune to criticism you become. And the weak know this. They turned victimization into a profession. Look at the case of Tokugawa Tsunayoshi, the fifth shogun of Japan's Tokugawa dynasty. Known as the Dog Shogun, he passed extreme laws protecting animals while his people starved. He used compassion as a weapon, making anyone who questioned his bizarre decrees look cruel. He weaponized softness to maintain absolute control. The weak do this too. They use their suffering as a shield against accountability and a sword against your boundaries. Power Law 27 teaches us: play on people's need to believe to create a cult-like following. The weak do exactly the inverse. They play on your need to be good, to be useful, to be the savior. They create a cult where you're the only member, working tirelessly to redeem someone who doesn't want redemption. They need believers, not solutions. Here's the conspiracy within the conspiracy. Entire institutions were created to perpetuate weakness. I'm not just talking about social systems. I'm talking about friendship circles, families, even corporate environments where complaint culture becomes the norm. In these spaces, if you dare to be strong, if you dare not participate in the collective lamentation festival, you become the villain. You become the insensitive one, the selfish one. The Stoics had a devastating phrase for this: opinion is the source of all suffering. Epictetus taught that you only suffer when you assign value to external things. And what do the weak do? They assign immense value to absolutely everything, especially others' opinions about their misery. They need you to validate their drama. Without an audience, the show loses meaning. But here's the dark trick. You've been conditioned to feel guilty for succeeding while others fail. You've been programmed to believe that your strength is somehow responsible for others' weakness. That's a lie. Your light doesn't dim anyone else's light, but the weak will make you believe it does. Because if they can convince you that you're guilty for being well, you'll start self-sabotaging to level down. Victimhood became a superpower in the modern era. Social media amplified this exponentially. Now, the weak have digital megaphones to broadcast their misery to millions. And there's an eager audience, because misery loves company. We've all fallen into this trap of feeding the algorithm of shared suffering. Liking, commenting, sharing others' pain, as if that solved something. It doesn't. It only amplifies. Practical action. In your next conversations with people who constantly victimize themselves, try an experiment. Don't offer immediate comfort. Don't offer solutions. Ask, what are you going to do about it? Watch the reaction. If the person gets uncomfortable, changes subject, or attacks you, you just identified someone who doesn't want help. They want an audience. Adjust your interactions accordingly. The truth is that keeping you trapped in guilt is the greatest act of control the weak exercise. While you feel guilty for evolving, they ensure you never go too far. It's manipulation disguised as need. If you've been imprisoned by this guilt, if you've felt wrong for being well, type free in the comments. Hit that like if you're understanding the game, and subscribe, because there's much more uncomfortable truth ahead. Why? Your compassion is destroying you and strengthening your enemies. Compassion is virtue, right? Wrong. Or rather, not entirely wrong. Misdirected compassion is one of the most devastating weapons against yourself. It's the Trojan horse you open the gates to receive. The weak know exactly how to exploit this noble inclination of yours. They smell empathy like sharks smell blood in the water. And when they find you, they attack not with violence, but with endless need. There's a rarely discussed psychological phenomenon: pathological altruism. It's when you help compulsively, even when it harms you, even when the person doesn't deserve it, even when it's obvious your effort is being wasted. You become hostage to your own kindness. And the weak perceive this instantly. They become experts at pressing exactly that button in you. Look at the story of Mother Teresa, not the romanticized version, but the documented reality. Recent investigations revealed her facilities had appalling conditions, reused needles, and denied pain medication to dying patients. Because suffering brings you closer to God, she collected millions in donations, but kept people in misery. Some historians suggest she was addicted to the image of sainthood more than actual relief of suffering. Even icons of compassion can become drunk on the power that comes from being needed. Power Law 40 states, despise the free lunch. Robert Greene explains that what comes easy isn't valued. When you give your energy, your time, your support for free, demanding nothing in return. You teach the weak that your generosity has no value. They learn they can always come back, because the source never dries. You become an infinite resource, and therefore disrespected. The Stoics were brutally practical about this. Seneca wrote, "It is easier to exclude harmful things than to regulate them." He wasn't talking about moderation with poisons. He was talking about elimination. You don't take a little poison, you avoid it completely. Toxic people are emotional poison. Compassion with them is like taking controlled doses of arsenic thinking you'll develop immunity. You won't. You'll just die slower. Here's the conspiracy theory few admit. Society needs compassionately stupid people. It needs individuals who give without questioning, who sacrifice without reward, who work to sustain those who refuse to work. It's a system based on exploitation of the good by the bad. And if you question this, you become insensitive. You become selfish. You become the problem. Because a world where everyone was strategic with their compassion would collapse the pyramid where the weak sustain themselves on the backs of the strong. You were taught that denying help is cruel. But nobody taught you that helping those who don't want to be helped is stupidity. Nobody told you there are people who prefer misery to the effort needed to escape it. And these people will suck you dry if you allow it. Your compassion becomes the food that keeps them alive. In weakness. Think about this. How many people have you helped who are exactly in the same place years later? How many times have you offered solutions that were never implemented? How many opportunities have you created that were wasted? If the answer is more than 3, you're feeding vampires. You're an energy farm for emotional parasites. Practical action. Establish an immediate rule. Help each person a maximum of 3 times with the same problem. After that, cut them off. Don't explain. Don't justify, just distance yourself. If in 3 attempts the person changed nothing, they don't want change, they want attention. Your compassion is being stolen, not invested. Protect your most valuable resource, your life energy. The devastating reality is this. While you empty yourself to fill others, your own dreams wither, your projects die, your potential rots. Because at the end of the day, after giving everything to the weak, nothing remains for you to build your own greatness. If you felt you're giving too much and receiving 0 back, if you realized your kindness became a curse, type boundary in the comments. Leave your like if this is resonating. Subscribe because the final part will reveal how to cut these vampires off for good and reclaim your power. How to shield yourself against energy vampires and reclaim your power. The moment of brutal truth has arrived. You can understand everything about energy vampires, recognize every pattern, every manipulation, every trick of the weak, but if you don't act, you'll continue being drained until you become an empty shell. Knowledge without action is intellectual masturbation, and the weak love when you stay in theory, because while you study the problem, they keep sucking your energy. The shield begins with the word modern society taught you to hate: selfishness. Yes, strategic selfishness. We're not talking about gratuitous cruelty or psychopathic indifference. We're talking about putting your oxygen mask on first. If you pass out trying to save everyone on the crashing plane, you save nobody. You just add one more body to the pile. The weak want you to believe that taking care of yourself is sin. Because if you're strong, they lose their host. Look at the case of Elvis Presley in his final years. The king of rock, surrounded by the Memphis Mafia, a group of enablers who profited from keeping him drugged, isolated, and dependent. They weren't enemies. They were friends and family, but they fed his weaknesses because his destruction funded their lifestyle. When he died bloated and alone on a bathroom floor, those parasites had already extracted everything. The lesson? Even legends can be devoured if they don't establish steel boundaries. Power Law 2 warns us, never put too much trust in friends. Learn how to use enemies. The weak infiltrate as friends. They use intimacy as access. They transform proximity into permission to drain you. But your real enemies, those who challenge you openly, at least are honest about their intentions. You know where you stand. With the weak disguised as friends, you only realize the betrayal when you're already exhausted. The Stoics had a devastating concept: amor fati, love of fate. Marcus Aurelius practiced accepting what cannot be changed and focusing energy only on what's under your control. And here's the bomb. You don't control if other people choose weakness. You only control whether you'll finance that choice with your energy. Accepting this frees you from the prison of misdirected compassion. There's an invisible secret society, not Masons or Illuminati, but something more insidious. It's the brotherhood of the mediocre. They recognize each other, they protect each other mutually, and they have a common enemy: you. When you decide to be exceptional, they'll sabotage you subtly. They'll question your goals. They'll remind you of every past mistake when you try to climb. Because your ascension exposes their weakness, your strength makes their weakness indefensible. The truth nobody wants to hear: cutting people from your life isn't cruelty, it's gardening. You prune dead plants so living ones receive more nutrients. You remove dry branches so new shoots grow. Your social circle is a garden, and if you don't prune, the weeds suffocate everything. The weak are emotional weeds. They spread, consume resources, and kill everything around them. Here's the method. Implement the 3-question protocol before investing energy in anyone. First, is this person applying advice or just collecting attention? Second, do they celebrate my victories or subtly diminish them? Third, after interacting with them, do I feel energized or exhausted? If the answers are negative, you have a confirmed vampire. Act accordingly. Practical action. Do a brutal inventory this week. List all your personal relationships. Next to each name, mark whether that person adds energy or subtracts it. Be honest, not merciful. Then reduce contact by 50% with everyone who subtracts. Don't announce, don't explain, just distance yourself. Watch how in 30 days you'll have more energy for your own projects than you've had in years. The recovery of your power begins when you understand you owe no loyalty to those who drain you. Gratitude isn't a slavery contract. Kindness isn't perpetual obligation. You have permission to be ruthless in protecting your life energy, because without it, you build nothing, you truly help nobody, you leave no legacy. You just survive as an emotional zombie. The world is divided into 2 tribes: those who build and those who consume, the strong and the weak, the generators and the drains. You were born a generator, but the drains will do everything to convert you. Resisting that conversion is your only true mission, because in the end, the only energy that matters is what you keep. To build something greater than yourself. If you're ready to cut the vampires, to reclaim your strength, to stop being someone else's energy farm, type armored in the comments. Leave your like if this video changed something in you. Subscribe to the channel because you need this mentality to survive the power game. And share this with someone who's being drained, someone who needs to wake up before it's too late.